Welcome to Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, your guide to mastering the realm of real estate in Central East Florida. I am Sir Lancelot Leonard, ready to uncover the secrets of seller strategies, home staging, mortgage mastery, and more. From Daytona Beach to Cocoa Beach, Lake County to St. Augustine, join me as we navigate the intricacies of real estate. As the leader of the Sir Lancelot Group at Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, I'm here to arm you with knowledge and innovation, whether you're a seasoned homeowner or a first-time buyer, unveiling the kingdom of real estate, one roundtable at a time. Our next guest is an amazing agent from Florida's Northeast region, Jacksonville and St. Augustine. Was a Rookie of the Year in 2022 at Butzer Realty. Let's welcome the amazing Philip Amorgianos. Philip, tell me about yourself. Welcome.
It's a blessing to be here and to share my experience with you. I am an agent with a background in behavioral health care, and I have lived in Northeast Florida my whole life. I've worked all over the state in various different positions, serving public health care, from addiction to behavioral health, foster care, correctional rehabilitation. And so I know the neighborhoods from a slightly different perspective than most people would approach knowing those neighborhoods. And when I made my career change from behavioral health care into real estate, I took that kind of client centered approach to helping customers set specific, measurable, attainable, realistic goals, and goals that are shaped by them, because I'm not the one buying the house, it's they're the ones buying the house. And so giving them the information that they need to make those informed decisions, so that the real estate transaction, whether people know it or not, whether you realize it or not, you're going to live with your purchase in three places. There's three places where it's got to work for you. It's got to work for you here in terms of checking all the boxes of what you need. It's got to work for you here in the sense that you've got to have a house that you feel good about going home to every day, or at least you should. And it's got to work for you here in the pocketbook or wherever it is that you keep your money. And it should get you excited in at least one, if not all three of those places. And so it's my job as an agent to give a customer the information that they need to make decisions that will ensure that transaction works for them in the head, the heart, and the wallet.
That's awesome, Phil. And what hometown insights do you wield when guiding clients to their dream homes?
Oh gosh. Well, when it comes to hometown insights, I am blessed in that Jacksonville is the largest geographic city in the contiguous 48 United States. And it has a tremendous amount of diversity. So if you like rural properties and horse farms, I got you. If you like riverfront property and all of the recreational opportunities that adds, I got you. If you like beach property, we're there. Now, mountains and desert, not so much. But when it comes to urban areas, trendy spots, nightlife, some people like the nightlife. They like to boogie on the disco line. Right? Jacksonville has that kind of stuff, but Jacksonville also has nice, quiet suburban neighborhoods, areas that have been wide, and there's something here for everybody. So it really depends on what you find most appealing, and you really need to take the lead in finding that search. And a good agent is going to help you, guide you through that process of finding that property that is going to work for you in your head and your heart and in your wallet.
That's awesome. I love those 3 points. I haven't heard any agent really break it down to that. I think that comes from your background of analyzing situations and people and helping them out. I think that's phenomenal insight. I didn't think about it that way. I'm usually, give all and I'll be all, I'm there for everybody all the time kind of person. So, to get a successful deal done, make sure that they're always happy. And this goes to our next question. In the real estate game, it's all about the client. Can you delve into providing top-notch services non-negotiable for success? And how is that, going around with you?
It's funny you mention that, because Watson, as its slogan, has legendary quality of service. And that imprinted on me when I was a little duckling in the process in real estate school. And so I treat every transaction as if, the customer was a family member of mine, and how would I want them treated if they were going through the process. So, I mean, I've worked with elderly customers who really needed a lot of assistance with the technology necessary to understand what was going on and sign and execute documents. And in some cases, you just have to print them up old school and take them over there as if it's, back in the 80s and get stuff signed off on in pen and ink. And that's what they're most comfortable with. And in other instances, it's really about teaching them about the neighborhoods and the areas. During the time that I got myself into the business, the pandemic was going on, and we had customers that were relocating here from other states. And so doing virtual showings and making sure that the customer saw that property, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If there was a smell there, if there was something going on with settlement, if there was things that I would want to know if I was on the other end of that phone, so that when the customer, and then structuring the deal so that the customer could physically get to the property during the due diligence period and make sure that everything is just as Phil described it, or maybe this isn't the right property for me. And being able to approach it from that perspective and to work through some of the challenges that we as agents had to face during that period of time really helped to shape the way that I do business.
That is really great information. I remember it was really awkward at the first 3 months when we were locked down and we were allowed to go drive around and everything as agents, and the masks, the booties, the washing your hands, sanitizing, going out showing, a lot of virtual showings, a lot of people coming into our state from all over the place. I don't know if
Sure.
I told you, I'm just a few towns down from you. I'm in Port Orange, next to Daytona
Oh, right
Beach.
there in Daytona area.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
My
yeah.
grandfather used to manage a property down there, and my extended family, his mother and her husband used to run the ocean deck
Oh,
down there
really? You're kidding me.
years and years ago, way back when.
Years
So
and years
yeah.
at the Ocean Deck. Just, I have a really good friend that used to play the drums for Orange Avenue. He owned the band,
Okay.
and they
All
used to
right.
play there all the time. When I first moved up
Interesting.
here from Miami 5 years ago, I used to go to the Ocean Deck and listen to their music all the time. It was fun. And it's one of the
Oh,
only real oceanfront venues in town. Like, actually, the beach is right there in the back porch. So
oh
that's
yeah.
pretty cool.
So my mother used to run a daycare center. She would load us all into the station wagon with the copper colored station wagon with the wood panel siding and everything on
Oh,
it.
I love
And
that.
we would drive all the way down to Daytona, and we would have lunch and go play on the beach. And that was our summer field trip, was going and visiting with the family down at the ocean deck back when it was kind of a pizza place and a beach hangout spot before it took on that kind of nightclub sort of a vibe that I think it has now.
Sort of. I mean, it's still kind of bandish. It's not really DJ yet, so it still
I gotcha.
somewhat
I
has a
gotcha.
charm of a small town kind of bar. Like new movie with Conor McGregor. What's that?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was the remake of the.
Roadhouse. Yeah, yeah. So it feels like a
Yes,
Roadhouse still a little bit, I think
I
when you go
gotcha.
in there.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Only there's no MMA guys throwing people through windows or anything
Exactly.
like
There's
that.
no MMA.
That doesn't really happen in Port Orange area. They're pretty good with their policing down that way, and they don't tolerate those shenanigans.
We have some really good policing down here. I think we're still number 2 in the state of Florida for the most safest town for Port Orange, at least. Not
Well,
Daytona,
and
Port Orange.
yeah, I know. There's a big difference between, it's funny. People are talking about, oh, I want to go live in Daytona. Maybe, or maybe what you want to do is live in New Smyrna or Port Orange, which is where the people who work in Daytona live.
Exactly. It's the bedroom town. That's what we love about it. So, what's your
Yes.
secret sauce that sets your real estate playbook apart from the rest of the Northeast Florida players?
I think one of the main things is customer service, and there are a lot of agents who really like very specific areas. And given the fact that in my prior career I had a regional position, I like to travel and I like knowing about the areas that are a little further. So some people, my office is right here in the Mandarin South area of Jacksonville, and there are agents here who specialize, and they're wonderful agents in Juliette Creek and South Mandarin, in the Fruit Cove area, and I love all of that. And I sold property here, sold great properties here in this area. But I've also sold property in Green Cove and Middleburg, and down in Keystone, Melrose, St. Augustine, up in Bryceville, sections of Jacksonville, from some of the more urban areas of town to some really nice suburban properties. It just depends on what the customer needs, because the customer is always right. The customer is the boss, and it's our job as agents to take care of them through that process in the same way that we would like for our families to be taken care of. I come from a healthcare background, and one of the big things in behavioral healthcare is informed consent. So before you sign off, I'm going to agree to do X, Y, and Z in the treatment plan is saying I'm going to know what the benefits and the limitations are, what those expectations are. And it's the same thing in real estate. In some of my prior experiences before I got my license, people are like, well, here's the contract, sign it. And we never do that in my prior field. We would always make sure you've got to understand what you're signing. How can you agree to something if you don't know what you're agreeing to? And so it's really important to me that my customers have all of that information and can make those decisions. There's a sweet spot between due diligence and analysis paralysis. And I, as the agent, have to help the customer find wherever that spot happens to lie for them specifically.
That is awesome. So I know it's not have been hasn't been finalized yet with the lawsuit and anything, but I think you're gonna delve into that and succeed throughout this new transition what we're gonna have in real estate. Meaning having to have an exclusive signed by a buyer before going out and showing homes and no compensation offered to the buyer's agents through the MLS. I think you're gonna be really good at that. And how are you gonna tackle that? Do you have any ideas yet?
Interestingly enough, buyers have been supplying the funds for the transactions. And so they've actually been paying those commissions out the whole time. They just haven't been aware of it in an explicit way. It's been done in a way that it looks like it's coming from the sell side of the transaction, but no buyer, no money, no commission.
Correct.
So it's really about informing them of how the transactions typically get funded. And then again, in the same way, giving them the information they need to make a good decision. Say, look, you can go into this without representation and leave yourself at the mercy of whatever the seller or the seller's agent happens to go with. But I've had customers, some people learn the easy way and some people learn the hard way. And some people, as we say in the South, well, bless their heart. I have a customer who wanted to buy a property in another market. I said, can I help you find an agent up there who's qualified to assist you? And he's like, no, I got this. He's the boss. If he's got it, he's got it. So he goes and he does that. He signs up with a lender. And again, I said, we can help you find a lender. He's like, no, I got my own lender. I got all this stuff where he's all worked out. So he puts down a non-refundable loan origination fee. He puts a non-refundable deposit down on properties being sold for sale by owner. And it's a distressed property, and the type of financing he's using is FHA. And so anybody in the process who knew what FHA requirements are would have told him, dude, you can't, this is not going to end. So he ends up, you know, losing his binder deposit, losing his loan origination fee, and losing the inspection fee on what he had to inspect the property because the property was never going to meet those requirements. And had anybody been advocating on his behalf in that process, none of those things would have happened. They would have helped him to make some better decisions in terms of what he attempted to accomplish. And so it was an issue that cost him not an insignificant amount of money. So I think,
That shows how much value an agent can bring to a transaction that a lot of our clients are not aware of as buyer's agents, what we can produce as value for them. And that's something that I think we have to work on a lot to show them, tell them instances of like just what you explained is like this can happen to you if you're not being represented with the right people that do this for a living. Correct?
sure. And here's the thing. I always tell my buyers and my sellers are always like, oh, thank you, Phil, for this. Thank you, Phil, for that. And everything. I'm like, I would prefer that you save your thanks until there is either money in your account if you're selling a property, right? When the money shows up in your account, then we can high five and we can end zone dance and do whatever it is that we're going to do. Or when there are keys in your hand at the closing table. Because the way that contracts are written, the way these things fold out during due diligence and financing contingencies, inspection contingencies, appraisal contingencies, there's a lot of room for things to go in a direction other than we'd like them to go. Just case in point, I was selling a distressed property for somebody, a cash investor came along, what looked to be a really good offer. And then the red flags started going up. And as the red flags started going up, I said, okay, if we're going to go down this road with them, we're going to need to get double the binder deposit, right? And we're
Right.
going to need them to move the earnest money from their title company over to our brokerage for safekeeping so that we understand and sign off that if we don't close for any reason at all, that they're going to forfeit those funds and liquid damages to the seller because there were a bunch of dog ate my homework kinds of delays that came along in the process. And sure enough, we attended what ended up being a phony baloney closing. I got a phony baloney commission check because the title company reversed the transaction after giving the buyer the keys. And rather than go back and fight it, which we certainly could have done, but it would have taken the property off the market for a protracted period of time and would have ended up potentially costing the seller even more money in legal issues and all kinds of other stuff that came from it. Instead, the seller was compensated almost $10,000 for that in a way that the unscrupulous buyer really couldn't wiggle out of. And while I have a phony bone commission check and the name of a title company that I'll never do business with again, what the seller ended up getting was compensated for the 6 weeks that his property was off the market. And then we were able to actually go back to the market and get under contract for an even higher amount with somebody who we were able to get to the closing table. So all's well, ultimately, that ends well. Some of these transactions go very smoothly most of the time. Most agents out there, by the way, and most title companies out there, if not all but one of them, are fantastic and really take their job seriously and are doing the right things. But the ones that aren't, you need somebody advocating on your behalf who can really. I'm a nice guy all day long. I'm a nice guy. Not for 1 second of the day am I a doormat. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's what you want in an agent. You want an agent who understands that when we're in a transaction together, we're all in the same boat. It doesn't matter if the hole's
Correct.
on our side of the boat or their side of the boat. Nobody gets to where they want if we don't work together to patch it. But sometimes if you come into contact with somebody who's not a great actor, you want to put yourself in a situation where, as they say at the beginning of the boxing match, protect yourself at all times, right? And two things that I don't like to gamble with are people's time and people's money.
Correct.
People's time and their money is very valuable, and we have to respect those things as agents. And part of having these buyer agreements also be respectful of our time and resources as agents and help us to focus on customers that are really serious about the process and who understand that a good agent brings value to you in protecting you, not just showing you the property and saying, hey, this looks like a great house or this looks like a not so good house, but also stepping up when things don't go well and saying things that need to be said.
Correct. I totally agree with you on that. I am the same way. And I always tell that on my first calls with them is like, as important as your time is for me, I hope my time is for you. And then we proceed with, let's sit down and let's talk about your wants and needs because it is really important to find out what you actually want and need instead of, you browsing Zillow and sending me 15 or 20 houses that are totally different from each other. I'm like, let's figure out what you actually want. Ask the right questions.
Right,
That's one of our
right.
really big jobs is asking the right questions and finding out
Absolutely.
their wants and needs.
Absolutely.
Shazam.
Listen, I love superheroes because we're all called upon to do heroic things.
I
And
know, I know.
so anything that reminds me that we're called upon to take care of and look out for each other and that there's a hero in each and every one of us, I love that.
I totally agree with you on that 100%. So there's one more question I want to ask you, and
Sure.
what would you give as an advice for fellow agents that are getting into the business in this new circumstance, what's going to happen right now in the market and what's happening with the high interest rates, election year, NAR lawsuit, all these things are going on right now. And you have an extensive background in social care, and I'm pretty sure you have really good grasp on what's coming. And what would be your top advice for anybody joining on a scale?
So I think that there are a lot of things to consider in getting into this business. The most important thing, and it's something that I actually learned in behavioral health care, is before people care about how much they need to know about how much you care, right? So you could have enough, and whether it's in psychology or in real estate, you could have enough letters behind your name to start your own alphabet, right? You can have all kinds of extra credentials and this, that, or the other. But if you can't connect with people in meaningful ways to help them solve problems that are important to them in a way that they understand, then this is not your thing. You know what I'm saying? And we all have different talents. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, look, I will never sing in the shower. When I sing in the shower, or I will never sing. When I sing in the shower, the water stops coming out. That's how bad my singing is, right? And I'm not gonna slam dunk a basketball without a trampoline or a pair of stilts. But when it comes to figuring things out and helping people make decisions that are best for them, I've dedicated my life and I did it before I got into this business and I did it since I've gotten into this business. In real estate, there's always going to be challenges, there's always going to be changes. I certainly saw them in my prior career and was able to navigate through all that stuff. But if you keep the main thing, If you take care of people, the money will take care of itself as long as you go about your business in a meaningful and intentional way.
That is awesome. And thank you, Philip, for being with us. It was an amazing conversation. And I hope we can continue this in the second podcast because I think you have a lot to share with us.
Thank you for being polite enough to pretend that my jokes are funny. That makes me feel better about myself.
That's awesome. Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.